Stone axes shaped human history. But how difficult were they to make? And how well did they really work? Experimental archaeology helps answer those questions by recreating ancient tools, using the same materials and techniques available to their makers.
To make an axe like this, basically you want to get stone as close to the finished size as possible. These are typical river cobbles, so they're already kind of flat and rounded. And the first thing I did is I marked out where I wanted my groove, and then by using either chert or quartzite, basically you just start hitting it, and every time you hit it, it takes a little bit of the stone away. So to peck this groove took me 3 hours. It took me 3 hours to do one side of this, 4 hours to do the flat part on this. And then you can also flake it a little bit by hitting it and knocking some flakes off, which reduces the amount of time that you have to peck it. So to peck this axe into shape took me about 16 hours, and it would look something like this axe over here. Okay. With the peck marks all over it. Now this would work perfectly fine. It's polished on the edge where I sharpened it. But in a lot of cases, the Native Americans polished over the entire surface because, you know, they took pride in their workmanship and wanted it to look nice. So the actual time to make this axe was 40 hours. Okay, and most of that was just in making it look nice. It has nothing to do with how well it would work. And the way you would polish it is a couple different ways. You can use sand and water, and you just keep moving the wet sand underneath the rock, and it'll polish out the peck marks. The other way is you can find sandstone, kind of like sandpaper, from very fine to very coarse. And you just keep using finer and finer pieces of sandstone, and you can get a very, very good polish on the rock. So I have an example here, if you wanted to feel this. So there's the natural surface, there's the pecked surface that's been ground with sand and water, and then the surface that's been ground with sandstone. So if you wanted to feel that. Now the axes change through time, and what that represents is an improvement in technology. The earliest axes are what are called full grooved axes, because the groove goes all the way around. These would date from about 3,000 to 6,000 BC, and the way they would half that is they would take a handle and they would wet rawhide and they'd wrap it around as tight as possible, and then when the rawhide dries it will shrink and it'll give you a very tight fit. The problem with that is that as you use this, it's going to work loose. So then you have to wet all this rawhide, take it all off, rewrap it, and wait for it to dry, which would take, 2-3 days at least. Yeah. So the improvement they came up with is this 3/4 groove design, because it has this flat spot on it. What that does is that when you haft it with the rawhide, as this works loose, you can pound a wooden wedge between the axe head and the handle. When it works loose again, you can pound a bigger wedge in, and you can keep doing that until either the rawhide breaks or the handle breaks. So it was a really big improvement because you were not without your axe for, repeated times that you had to re-wet that rawhide. And then the final design they came up with is the celt or ungrooved axe. And why that's an improvement is that you do away with the rawhide completely. And what you do is you cut a socket in the wood like this. And then because the celt is tapered, when you put it in that socket, as you use it, it wedges it in tighter and tighter, okay? So that won't come out when you have it in there. So I could cut through this little log here probably in about 10 minutes.
After all that effort, the result is more than just an artifact. It's a fully functional tool. By recreating and using these tools, experimental archaeology can help answer questions that artifacts alone cannot.